Actually, that's how you do that. Okay, that's the stage. Cool. Like I said, there we go.
Up for you.
Nice. So you guys, has everyone been hearing me? Have you been hearing me okay, or is this the first time?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing you.
Amazing. So we've all been in a weight room while I've been talking for 2.5 minutes. That's great. First time's the charm. Okay, so we're all here, team's here. Welcome to the first ever live stream for Visa Law AI. We're obviously figuring all this out together. Thank you for taking time out of a busy Tuesday, I'm sure, to be part of this first ever live stream. To sort of quickly fill everyone in on how this will work, we will have a weekly live stream, which will be it's different than a webinar, right? Like usually we have, I'm sure we're all familiar with webinars and the structure of how those work. These are a lot more just informal. We have a link that's available on social media where you can just click in, join. We will have at least once a month or bi-monthly webinars, at least this first 6 months, because there's just going to be so many updates, and there are so many updates in the product that we just want to keep everyone up to speed on them. It will be the three of us today, as Greg, I believe, is on a full day webinar. So I won't be able to speak specifically to a lot of the content changes. Greg's definitely leading that part of the product along with our curator, Gabby. So I'll focus more on the technical side and on the product side, but I will mention for those who are joining, as you have questions, feel free to post anything in the sort of comment box, and we'll try to answer those as best we can during the call today. I imagine this is going to be a fairly short call, just again, because we're really only talking about the product and just sort of updates in the product, both for current users and those who are interested in just learning how Gen works and how we've sort of taken on this idea of unconventional legal research as it relates to immigration law and practicing immigration attorneys. Again, guys, Josh Sena is on the call, Jason Sesser as well, one of our co-founders. So we have both an immigration attorney and Jason and Josh Sena, who's also been super involved in the onboarding of these early users and getting really familiar with how the product works. So we have a good, we should be able to cover most of the questions, hopefully, that would come up. But anyway, I'm probably going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to see how this works. Let's see. 1 second. Great. So I think everyone hopefully will be able to see my screen okay. This is not going to be a full demo. We're not really, if you're interested in a full demo of the product, we're happy to provide that. And feel free to reach out to anyone on our team via social media or our website, and we're happy to, give you a really, comprehensive demo and how the product works. Some of the biggest sort of updates and things we're pursuing right now within the product have to do with primarily what you might consider something like a GPT chat functionality. Our product, just for a high level for those who aren't familiar, our product is really broken up into 4 primary skills or tool sets, if you would think of them that way. Legal research, which is our unique immigration data set. Any of our users can ask questions there, and that is basically querying a response from any of this sort of unique data set that we internally manage, monitor, update, along with any of our partnerships or licensing arrangements with other publishers, including AILA and others. So we believe we have a very robust immigration data set that allows our users to be able to ask some really interesting questions to that data. The others are private GPT, which is essentially, think of it like Chat GPT, but we like to think of it as more of a customized experience for immigration attorneys. We have the ability to create custom prompts and release those prompts to users, as well as trying to make sure it's a one-way street as it relates to the data that's being passed over to OpenAI, which is our current partner for large language models. Then document Q&A, which is similar to this concept of legal research, except rather than pulling that unique immigration data set, a user can actually sync or upload their own data to their personal library. And so they can, a user could ask questions to their own data. And that is the document Q&A tool set. In addition, we have summarization. So I just want to give, like, again, those who are currently using the product obviously understand those things. But for those who haven't seen this before, that's how these sort of 4 skills or tool sets work. So some of the biggest changes in recent times are related to both legal research and document Q&A. Some of the recent updates is we now are pushing out a capability to have a much larger source window. So right now it usually shows around 10 sources. We're pushing that out to 20. Within the, our sort of niche area, we don't really think having, an infinite number of sources is that helpful. Obviously we want to focus on those that are most relevant. Along with that idea, we've also created this idea or created some code that will represent sort of a relevancy rank for the AI. So when you get a response after asking a question, you should see some type of percentage here. That will tell you, based on how the AI is sort of drawing references to words and all of the relationships as we think about sort of these sort of generative AI concepts, that it's really providing this idea of a ranking percentage. Again, this is all, this is now in the live environment, but we are still testing the accuracy of it to see, how valuable it is to actually be able to filter sources based on this idea of relevancy, and deciding at what percentage do we want to show sources, at what percentage do we want to say, okay, anything below 80% or 75%, let's not use that information or not provide that as part of the response. So these are all things we're working through right now. It's anything above 80% should be shown in the sources. So that's one improvement that's been made. And again, we plan to expand to 20 by the end of this week. That is 20 relevant sources. It may find more than 20, but it's only going to show the top, or how I should say, the most relevant sources that are 20 or less. In addition to that, we've improved the PDF viewing capability. It was a really small window, and now it sort of opens up to this wider, hopefully more user-friendly viewing experience. Again, we definitely want to continue to make the PDF viewing a little bit easier for the users. Ultimately, though, our main priority is making sure users can get this sort of springboard response or quick response based on their questions. We obviously partner with a lot of publishers, or at least a few at this point, and are going to continue to sort of try to push folks to either have that resource internally, or again, with something like an ALA link resource, pointing to those external resources, so you could easily, hopefully eventually connect directly to them, rather than just kind of seeing everything via that PDF window. So those are a few of the updates on the legal research side. I mentioned that I'm not going to get too involved in the content itself, but I will say we've definitely confirmed that we've added all of the AAO decisions at this point, and have confirmed that the prompt itself is working and that users are actually able to ask questions to that content. It is a separate category. I would mention that as well. We do have the AAO decisions provided as part of the immigration law library, but if you really had a specific AAO decision, you could easily just unselect the default categories and only select the AAO decisions for your questions, and it should give you a much more thorough response to those. I would point out that our next roadmap feature for the AAO decisions is to have a custom prompt, which will allow users to ask very, very unique questions to that data set and hopefully get richer responses.
I would say I've had the best results just selecting AAO, as you said, because in those cases for me, if I'm like dealing with an RFE, something where I'm trying to, pull some persuasive materials I could use in a response, I'm not really looking for that generally in the primary law anyway. So I'm going into the AAO cases only, and I'm usually even asking, like, is there an AAO case, or are there AAO cases that discuss blank, that I need for this response, and trying to focus focus Jed and just giving the AAO decisions.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So I would be hopeful that folks continue to sort of challenge in some ways that data set and to see if it's giving you helpful responses. I know early on that was a big request from some of our earlier users about making sure that we had all the AAO and BIA decisions in there, and hopefully at this point we do. So again, correct us if there's something that's not in there that should be. And so, yeah, really excited about some of those content improvements. I believe next week on the live stream, we should be able to get a lot more in depth into a lot of the content. I know we've, been adding a lot of these more unique data sets, obviously all the forms and form instructions. I know that was one of the recent things. And it's, a lot of the forms are changing or changed as of this week. As I'm sure you all are aware, we've made sure to try to update those in the system as well to keep up with them. I'll switch over to document Q&A because I do want to focus a little bit on this area. A lot of our users who started out really interested in just the legal research library, I think have also started to grow their sort of understanding of AI and how they want to use it internally at their firm, and have started using document Q&A for a lot of internal specific tasks. We call it light drafting, anything less than 3 or 4 pages. And we've been troubleshooting a lot of these things, right? I think one of some of the primary use cases have been around RFE analysis, as well as general drafting of support letters. That one has been a very big use case. And I know depending on the length of the letter, we've been either seeing great success or still troubleshooting some of that work. The best use case we've seen, or the best sort of practical, I guess, pointers or advice we would have in using this tool for generating support letters, is to actually just paste your sample or template support letter in the prompt itself. Our team is happy to help with some of this. If this concept of prompting or prompt engineering or any of this stuff is just completely new in terms of how to do it. But in our prompt library, you can add your own prompts and adjust things like temperature and make some sort of like basically your own firm or organization's custom prompts. We do ship out what we call system prompts, which is when you create an account, there are by default several prompts. We're going to soon have a much more robust prompt library that will be available for users just off the shelf when they first log in. But for now, a lot of this would be, probably more specific or specialized to, a specific firm. But I will say one of the challenges we're up against right now, just from a technical standpoint, is figuring out how to get GPT-4 or GPT-4 Turbo to give us the basically this. If you're talking about a 4-page, the equivalent of a 3 or 4 page document, maybe like 1,500 words. We do find challenges in terms of like how you actually want to structure the prompt to get that output. We hear from several users as we're like first trying this is like, well, we can get up to like 600 words or something like that. And then beyond that, it's a little bit challenging to kind of push it up to the maybe 1,500 or 2,000 word range. We are employing some sort of strategies in our prompt building right now that should hopefully allow all users. And we'll be releasing some additional use case videos. And I think in those videos, we'll explain or in some other documentation how to take that leap from maybe the sort of general, 500 or 600 word output from, the document Q&A area to somewhere around the 1,500 to hopefully even 2,000 word range. It all sounds, you're thinking it's like, well, all these, the context windows have been increased and all these things. That's definitely true. In terms of the output, though, the token limit has stayed primarily the same. Hopefully with GPT-5, we'll see some and as we go along, like there will be a lot more improvements in terms of the sort of like output. I will say, and we've talked about this in some of our other communications, is like one of our primary roadmap features for this year is complex drafting. And I will say that in that product, when we release it later this summer, it will have the ability to generate much more complex documents than what you could expect to do in a sort of single prompt chat, like what you see here. So I will say we are going to continue to support what we call light drafting in the document Q&A area. But again, by the end of this summer, we'll have some alternatives that will allow users to be able to, I think, really find some unique use cases for drafting with the product. When you may, you know, for those that are really trying to push the limits of the software at this point and find value in it beyond just that sort of general question answer legal research, that's really our goal for this year. And so, yeah, Josh, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that was exactly that, is really kind of seeing how much that we're seeing a lot of our existing users to kind of migrating over to this document Q&A section, just due to the customizability of it, of being able to have these specific use cases in there. So once we have that draft feature, you know, this might not be the drafting tool anymore, but it will be a very essential and kind of customized area for a lot of attorneys that are using this. So just something that, you know, again, I know you'd mentioned it already, but anyone who signs up, we are more than happy to try and get a prompt in the works for them, so that they have one that's a specific use case to their firm. We're also in the process, or I'm in the process at least, of trying to develop a prompt that helps attorneys to create prompts as well. So things like that, where, you know, we're always trying to do what we can to better help our users understand how to get the most out of Gen. So
yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, thanks for adding that note. And again, I think from a user standpoint, like we're talking about creating a product that's for immigration attorneys, is like we're going to have to make this tech or this software really, really accessible and digestible for people. And some of our initiatives are really twofold. It's just really encouraging people to just start simple with the legal research area, just asking sort of general questions that come up throughout your day, things that you might be looking for, say, for example, in some other immigration resource, or you may be searching the web for. We think that you could actually find much better results. And it expands, of course. I would just reference the use case videos. It expands beyond just sort of general immigration queries. You can ask for templates of things or examples of things. And we hope that these sort of, like, again, sort of unconventional research is where we continue to sort of, or how we think about the product. But in addition to just sort of, you know, wanting to continue to push that sort of legal research area, we want to make this more customized, you know, area of Gen just easier to use for our users. And so that comes in a variety of ways. That's going to happen in a variety of ways. It's going to start with just the interface itself. There are ways in which the interface currently is sometimes just hard to utilize, with, especially with a lot of content at a single time. You know, there's just a lot. You know, say you have a large number of documents and you're trying to sort of search a large number of documents, or you're trying to create a custom prompt and you want it to do certain things that, again, the switches may be there and the knobs may be there in the software right now, but we are really focused on the user interface. And I will say, likely within the next month or two, you'll start to see some large improvements to this document Q&A area. We're releasing a feature called quick prompts, which will prevent the need to have to go in and sort of select the documents that you want to ask a prompt to, and then find the prompt that you want to ask, you know, sort of like this whole multi-step thing. And then you have to ask the question in the chat. We're going to release something called quick prompts, which will allow users to really quickly, when they go into their library of files, when they go in and see like what's happening, you know, anything they want to actually, and so say this is an RFE, this document test, right? And say you want to just run an RFE analysis on it really quickly. We're just going to provide that sort of simple, streamlined ability to just sort of either like right click or check something and then just go run that operation and go right to the output that you're looking for, rather than having to do this sort of whole multi-step, you know, create a new chat, document Q&A, check the documents off, ask the question, select the prompt. Like, you know, it's this whole, you know, 3 or 4 steps you have to go through just to get that simple output. Of course, this interface is still really helpful, and we're going to improve it so that, you know, maybe you do just want to ask questions to your entire data set. Or maybe you have maybe you have a folder of templates that you're wanting to, you know, ask for the system to generate an example letter or something like that from. all of that will still be possible, but we're just trying to create additional ways where users can just quickly get to the things that they need, rather than having to, say, for example, get really involved in learning how to create custom prompts and understanding how temperature works and all these things. I think that will be helpful, but we just want to make sure that an immigrant, like you as an attorney or you as a legal professional, can just go in, ask the specific immigration task you want it to do, and it will just do it. So hopefully that makes sense. That's sort of our rationale around the changes we're making in the document Q&A area at this point. So I think I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we can go back over here just to chat. Probably the last few notes I'll make on the product, and I don't really have to show anything to talk about them, but we are working on some really unique additional features. I want to talk about roadmap for a second. Our company is approximately 2 months old in terms of when we released the product to now. So I think it's okay for us to talk about what's coming rather than what we have. We think we have a really good established product in Gen, but we definitely are not content. Like we are continuing this year to really invest heavily in 2 areas. One is development and the other is security. And we are really hopeful that really summer is when we're going to release some of the drafting capabilities. By the end of the year, we'll have some really exciting tools. One of the areas of focus outside of drafting is this idea of projects. So obviously within Gen, the interface is built in a way that's very similar to a ChatGPT, where you have to depend on this sort of chat history like user interface. So everything you do is this sort of, let me create a chat, let me search my chat history. Obviously, if you're working on cases and with certain clients or on certain projects, that functionality or interface is not super helpful when trying to refer to information later or link things together in some kind of understandable way. So we're going to restructure the way that some of that interface can work, and you will have the ability to use what we call projects. So essentially, you'll be able to create chats, draft documents, and do other sort of operations within Gen that will all be linked to the sort of single, think of it as almost like a folder or sort of like source or ID, where you can actually just go back into this, think like a really clean interface, and you'll be able to actually go into specific projects, and all of those details, that information will be linked to this single source or single, very easily searched or searchable kind of interface. So we're really excited about some of those things. I don't have anything to show today. Perhaps in a few weeks, we'll actually have some sort of early stage UI to kind of share, but we're really open. I think from our standpoint, the way that we actually see this live stream working over time is, we might like to hear from current users. We may like to hear from others in the industry, maybe even outside of legal, that have a lot to say about how AI is impacting their industry. So we will have guests if anyone's interested in being a guest on the live stream as we go along. We'll be reaching out to many of you, but if you're just very excited about this project and would love to be on the live stream, please let us know. We're happy to have additional guests, and we'll be scheduling some of those things out as we move forward. But yeah, I think what I was going to get at around the community is as time goes on, we see ideas. Greg is an idea machine when it comes to how to use AI to sort of practically, impact your practice or just the practice of immigration law generally, I guess I would say. But there are obviously going to be prompts. There are going to be use cases. There are going to be ideas that you all have as you're using the product or as you're thinking about AI within the sort of scope of immigration law that we haven't thought of. And so we're going to continue to expand this idea of community in the product so that users can actually share those types of things, that kind of information sharing that will, allow a firm over here who says, oh, we have this really cool prompt idea that's really working for this. I mean, to the extent that people are willing, if they kind of feel like that's their unique kind of secret sauce and they don't want to share that with any other firm, that's fine. No one will think otherwise of that. But if there are ideas or prompts that people are using, specifically prompts, because I think that is some of the heavy lifting when it comes to how law firms use the product, or if you find a unique way to utilize some immigration data that we have that's different than maybe how we thought about using it before, we think that this idea of a community kind of environment was really going to help and then we can push those prompt ideas into the sort of system prompts where users can easily access, a prompt created by law firm X or, this individual. So I think that's another area where we're really trying to focus the remainder of this year is making some type of community environment for our users to be able to share those things. And of course, we recognize that there are just places on the web you can actually go and find a lot of prompts that already exist out there, even within legal. So, to the extent that we tap into some of those existing resources, we will. But obviously, we want most of what we're releasing to our users to be immigration specific. So anyway, at that, I'll stop talking. I don't know if you have anything else to add for today. I just wanted to sort of highlight the features that we're working on. I don't know if there are any questions or if anything came through, but I may have that feature turned off. If I do, I'll turn it on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't have anything come through on my. I was even checking LinkedIn to see if I could see if there's anything there.
Yeah, I would just say that the data set's growing. It's really big library now. I think it's over 160,000 documents. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And as that happens, at first it's like, is this going to continue to work as well, or is more data going to confuse the responses? And I think at least for me, I've been finding really good responses, especially if I'm thoughtful about the prompt or which documents I'm wanting to search through and things like that, which obviously get better the more you use the tool and kind of continue to get comfortable with those different options you can select and unselect and things like that. So it seems like the data set's growing, and with that, the answers have gotten better.
Yeah, that's the reports we've gotten from our users, and it is amazing once you have all the relevant content, the kind of output you can see in the product. And I think it is a valid point. We're trying to find ways, different approaches to sort of dip into the correct content. That was one thing I didn't really mention in the legal research area when I was talking about earlier is, when you have primary law and you have a lot of secondary source material, the challenge is like, how do you instruct the AI to focus on the thing that's most important? Likely most of the time it's probably the primary law, but oftentimes you might be looking for something that's more of an interpretation of that law or something that's as a response to maybe some memo that the government released or something like that. So it is somewhat challenging, and I think we've gone about it in a sort of multi-step way. Obviously, we took the embedding approach, so we're going to be trained on old things. So when we update documents, that is the real-time library that the AI is looking to, and so hopefully, in that way, limiting hallucinations. Also, this idea of focusing on very only relevant content, taking all the content library, saying, okay, we only want content that's this relevant or higher. Continue to test and do what we call our baseline tests on the output. And then beyond that, we have some other approaches we plan to take. Categories is like kind of that first step where you can actually pick specific content. So, right, if you're looking for something that's only in the AAO data set that you want an answer from, obviously you can go and click that. We want it to be more dynamic though. Right? Like we don't want it where users just say like, oh, I just want this specific library. We're using in our staging environment a tagging feature, which would allow users to do something like at H1B data or at whatever that data set is. We want people to be able to like really easily. I don't know how to say it other than very easily dive into like cross sections of content based on certain tags or profiles, rather than just having this more, foldering type structure where you can select certain categories, because we think it's twofold. Like, obviously we want the AI to make certain decisions. Like we want the AI to try to provide the best answer possible. But if you know exactly where the content is that you need to ask a question of, then the more fine-tuned that you as the user can do that, I think definitely the better the output will be. Because, right, that is true that, we might have, I guess like a perfect example might be, okay, there was just recently a new form created that's released, but maybe perhaps in a published book, there may be an older version of that form. And so we obviously, don't want to necessarily, there could be methods to solve that problem. Like maybe we just tell it, look at the most recent, documents that are created or uploaded, but you see sort of like our sort of challenge when it comes to identifying most often the relevant information. So it is a challenge when you're dealing with both primary law and and we rely heavily on that secondary source material. So like pulling those two together in some way where they're not conflicting with each other. And anyway, we don't have the answers. We don't have all the answers. We've employed some specific tools we think will help, and we will continue to do so. Of course, it will be up to our users to tell us whether it's, in our testing, to tell us whether it's actually working or not. We think it is.
I was gonna say that was just highlighting this comment from Andreas that came on here that basically just said, "Hey, I've been using Gen for 2 weeks. Great results so far. Great potential for building on top of that." Just wanted to give that a shout out. So always good to see when existing users are give us a little bit of credit there as well. So
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for using the product. Yeah, it's definitely, again, still early going, but we feel like we've definitely gotten to this point of more stability in the product, the types of outputs we're seeing, really what our vision is in the future. We think all of that's really defined, and that's why I'm personally more excited about the product and the project than ever, because I really do see the direction we're going and the sort of possibilities that exist. Maybe a good place to end in terms of like this call would be just talking about resources. I think, I've had a lot of folks reach out who are either interested or current users and asking about how do I learn more if I'm currently using the product, how do I learn more? So if you're interested in Gen, we're definitely happy to give you a demo. We are post waitlist stage. We don't have waitlist anymore. You can just go onto the website. You can create an account. You don't have to wait. You can do that today. If you are just wanting more information about the product, we're happy to give a demo. If you're a current user, I would highly recommend, as I always do, those use case videos. It's just visalaw.ai. When you go to the main page, there's a use case link, or you can just do /use cases, get to those little videos. We're about to add a few additional ones because the ones that are on there been there a while, and we have more to add. There are some additional resources. We do have a change log for VisaLaw AI, which I want to promote and kind of bring to the top of people's sort of feed. So if you let me see if I can paste this to all. This is our changelog. It's also available on the website, on the VisaLaw AI website, as well as when you go to submit a support ticket within Gen, we have like a chat support chat. You'll be able to see it there. This just highlights all these sort of things I talked about today and some others that I didn't get into. Obviously, there are bugs, things we're fixing on a daily basis. I'm in fact about to release a message in Intercom right now to all of our users, letting them know we fixed a bug that was this morning related to ability to upload files. It's fixed now, thankfully. But we'll definitely post those sorts of things continuously and make those available for users. In addition, I said we have support chat. Like when you go in, there's a help button in Gen. We're always trying to make sure people can get access to support and make sure the product's working for them. We are working on two things right now. One is better documentation. We do have some articles, but we're about to expand that out a little bit more. We're also focused on something which we're calling, Josh, what are we calling it again?
AI Academy. Okay. So far.
Yeah. So I don't know to what extent Ayla will be involved in this venture, but we're basically trying to create some kind of resource that will explain the concepts of generative AI and explain how to get started, not just in Gen, but as an immigration lawyer, trying to understand how generative AI will impact your practice and just kind of learning these basic concepts before we start talking about demos and getting into like system prompts and temperature and, prompt engineering, like how to basically start, at square one, like what is a prompt? What is generative AI and why does it matter? That's what we're working on right now, which is, again, kind of like that first step, because we've honestly been really happy and surprised by how many firms are really interested in adopting this technology. I think it really is just a lot of new, right? It's this new concept for a lot of people. And we don't want to overwhelm people. Like today, I was talking a lot about the product and maybe it overwhelmed some folks who are just trying to jump in for the first time and learn about Gen. I apologize. But we are happy to, obviously talk with you further about those things, but we plan to have some type of resource, whether it's written or video, or a course. Maybe it's some type of course, but basically it's at its infancy, but we plan to have something that will just really walk people through that are interested in using Gen, or maybe just a lawyer interested in learning more about generative AI as a concept of how to go from like that very initial learning, kind of like learning stage all the way to like, let's utilize this technology in our firms, and maybe some other additional resources as well. Because I know, like, for example, law firms are really curious to know like how you structure like AI policies, right? Like if you're using generative AI at your firm, or how, and so, I think there will be other additional resources that I think will be super helpful for folks as, we all start to understand how to utilize the technology best. But I don't have anything else for today. Josh, Jason, anything else before we conclude?
No, I would say I didn't have anything.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I really appreciate your time today, taking time to hear us talk here. But as I said, every week we'll have this live stream, and we'll continue to provide updates on the product and likely have some guests as well. So keep on keeping on. Appreciate y'all joining us today.
Thanks everyone. Bye now.